Hello. Those of you who don't know me, my name is Nick Wright. And I've somewhat recently returned from the Salt Lake City Headquarters mission. I've been asked to speak about kindness, specifically both in word and deed, in relation to Christ. I'm guessing also comparing it to my mission, which is probably a fairly easy task because unlike most other missions, the Salt Lake City Headquarters is fairly unique. Before I go into that, I'm going to just quickly summarize the events that happened before I left my mission in Utah. I had turned in my papers for starting a mission fairly early on in 2017. After a couple of months of not hearing anything, I eventually got word back telling me that I was excused from serving a cross-light mission. I was somewhat disappointed, but at the same time I had heard about the Salt Lake City Headquarters mission, and I was wondering if there was some way I could go to that one. One of the main ways it's fairly different from others is that, someone requests to go there, but only after you've been excused. My bishop and stake president told us that my parents and I that they'd get back to us about that. A little while later, they told us that I would be able to go to that mission if I fulfilled a couple requirements. Being one, I had to serve a service mission for 3 months. Two, I had to serve at least 20 hours. There we go, that's the right time. 20 hours a week, and three, I had to attend a singles ward. I did those 3 requirements, doing 4 months, the 4th month being the month I was waiting to hear back from the headquarters mission. And sure enough, I got the call, and 2 weeks later, I reported it to the mission. Notice I said mission there. That's another difference. I did not go to the MCC at all. In fact, none of the young and elders in the Salt Lake City Headquarters mission do. We report right to the mission. We get a week of training, and after that, we are sent off with our companion. That first week was really stressful. That first day felt like it lasted an entire week by itself. One of the saving graces, though, was my training week companion. His name was Elder Christensen. He was the complete opposite of me. You would not think that we would have gotten along. Yeah, we were probably the closest out of the 4 companionships that was in that 4th week. And with that form of kindness was really just something I needed at the time. Him and I got along real well. We were able to help each other when we felt stressed out about what the mission would entail. After that first week, I was assigned to the church history library in a special projects zone. There are 3 main buildings within the Salt Lake City Headquarters mission, being the Church History Library, the Family History Library, and the Joseph Smith Memorial Building. We are not Temple Square, despite what many people think. But we do get to do plenty of many different kind of things. For example, with the Salt Lake City, with the Church History Library, I was able to work on this one project known as the Leohoan Project. Long ago, when the church missions were divided not by states, but by areas of states, groupings of states, like the U.S. Southwest Mission. This is probably what this area would be, not Mexico. There was a mission newsletter known as the Liahona, and it was our project to basically go through the Liahona, record all the names, and connect the names of people who served and connect them to people on the early missionary website. That was a really interesting experience because there's just so many names. The project was really within my skill set, so I felt right at home. And it was interesting to see how things grow in the church, and also just some of the stories in there. Sadly, I can't really name any of the stories off the top of my head. And one of the greatest things that really helped me during that time was my companion, my trainer, Elder Walker. He had only been out there for 2 months. He had just finished being trained. And that's another thing I should point out. Transfers were a bit different. Each transfer was only about a month long, so we transferred a lot more often. And we also lived in the same mission complex, which was fairly way different than a lot of other missions, I assume, because in most other cases you would not be in an apartment complex with over 100 other young elder missionaries. You can see why our mission president felt really blessed to have this opportunity to teach us more, because there were over 100 of us, all within a small confined space. Some reviews said it felt like being in a dorm. But Elder Walker was a great trainer. He was able to help me get more interested in the gospel and gain more of a reliance on prayer, which prayer and scripture study were the two things that really helped me in fully devoting myself to the mission. Especially the transfer after that, which I was sent to the family history library. New apartment, new companion, new zone. In this zone, our job was to help new people, people who were new to genealogy work, set up an account for family search. And for those of you who don't know me, socializing is not my forte. You can probably tell by how this talk is going. I was extremely nervous during that month. I hardly helped anyone during that. But on the upside, I was able to really help myself, because it was that month I was able to truly just set my personal desires aside and fully commit. I still don't really help anyone, but I was able to make that commitment. My companion also was really helpful at the time. For those of you who don't know, I have Asperger's. It's a form of high-functioning autism. Elder Epic, who was my companion at the time, yes, there are many puns about the righteously epic companionship. He too had autism, about the same level as I did. We also had fairly similar interests, but all that combined, we were able to get along real well, and as such, it felt less like a companionship and more like a friendship, or brothers. I was only there for a month, thank heavens, mostly due to the fact of socializing with people, and after that I was transferred to digital imaging processing. I was now in the Joseph Smith Memorial Building, in which I helped with various projects. Specifically at the time, I was helping with the Family Search Wiki. Yes, Family Search does have a wiki, and they can teach you how to do research, which is very helpful with your family history research, especially for other countries, unless of course you can't, understand non-English languages. I was there for 2 months, having 2 different companions during that time. And some people that showed me some real kindness during that time was my companion for the 2nd month, Elder Hall. He was also my district leader, and Elder Mejia. Now, one interesting thing I got to find out about Elder Hall was that him and I were 3rd cousins once removed. You tend to find these kind of things out when you're in a mission that revolves heavily around genealogy. At first, I wasn't exactly pleased with that knowledge. It wasn't, the companionship was not the best at the time. It wasn't until afterwards that eventually I came around to it, mainly because of that knowledge of we're family distantly. 3rd cousin once removed might not sound big, but at the same time, it is somewhat close. My grandfather knew about Elder Hall's family, so there was that connection, and as such, I really felt that desire to forgive, because I did not want to be burdened with that knowledge, especially knowing that our ancestors were probably watching us and hoping that we would get along. The other elder during that companionship was Elder Mejia. Interestingly enough, Elder Mejia and Elder Rebek were from the same place, Blackfoot. And Elder Mejia was able to help me out during difficult companionships, and also just with understanding what was expected out of the missionary. Elder Mejia had transferred from a different mission, a proselyting mission, so he knew what other places expected, and he was able to see that, see the contrast and the comparatives. And as such, him and I were able to get along really well, and we were able to help each other out. One of the biggest form of kindness that I think both of us shared was one time when Elder Hall collapsed. More of mentally, but also somewhat physically. Basically, he had taken, in combination of stress and some sleep medication he was given, we were on our P-Day when all of a sudden Elder Hall began to mentally shut down. We brought him back to the apartment, and we found out that he couldn't move at all, except for his hands. He couldn't talk. And with the help of the assistance of the president, we were able to give him a blessing and help him through that trial. That was a very tender mercy, because we got to see the kindness and healing power of God. Got to see the love that Christ showed, the kind of kindness that he showed. After those 2 months, I was transferred to data services, a call center, basically. I was back in the family history library, and like I said, it was a call center in which we helped people who were having problems with family search, specifically helping sign back in, figuring out issues that happened, people complaining about incorrect connections and stuff like that. Very interesting experience. I was there for 3 months. Didn't really do calls much because of social anxiety. I did email cases, and in all, I got to meet some amazing people. Probably one of the best ones was my companion for those first 2 months, Elder Peterson. Like I said, the companionship before that was a bit difficult, but with Elder Peterson, I was able to get over that, not just because of his kindness, but also the kindness I was able to show Elder Peterson. There were plenty of times where he felt down and felt like he just couldn't connect with the other elders. And I was able to reassure him that we cared about him, and I was able to show that I cared about him, that I wanted to be his friend, which is one of the biggest forms of charity I think that we can give, is showing that we can be friends. We might not be the closest people, but we can still get along and be nice to one another. So yeah, we became friends. Played games on times that we had off. We enjoyed cracking jokes, and he even introduced me to one of my new favorite drinks, Mountain Dew. But I digress. During the third month of my mission, I was being in data services, I was made a district leader. Now, unlike most other missions where it goes, companionship, then district leader, then zone leader, then president, the district leaders would report both to the zone leader and to the president, because our zone leader was not a young elephant. The zone leader was a senior missionary. Our mission is the largest in terms of numbers, nearing the hundreds, if not maybe 1,000. Not exactly sure. Most of them being senior missionaries. However, in that zone, I didn't really get to see my zone leader that much. So I mainly reported directly to the mission president, and the one tender mercy I got to see as a district leader, at least in that zone, was that I was able to get support from the 4 other district leaders there. Most other zones in my mission only had 1 and maybe 2 district leaders. Granted, districts were smaller, being only 4 to 6 elders at a time. But the concept of having responsibility for a bunch of other people was stressful. But being in data services with 4 other district leaders kind of showed me the ropes. I was able to gain enough confidence to know that I was able to help them. After that month, I was transferred to library services, following my favorite zone, in which I got to be a librarian. There's no other way to put it. I literally was a librarian. I shelved books, I made sure everything was in the right place, I helped people find books, I even went to the secret special back storage area to get certain books and films and stuff for patrons who were wanting to find our ancestry, specifically in pretty much anywhere that wasn't the United States or Canada, and even then, sometimes those places as well. It was probably my favorite zone. Not just because it definitely fit within my skill set, it was a good mixture of talking with people and not talking to people. It involved a lot of sorting, which for some reason I just enjoy, and the people I got to work with were just amazing. Probably one of the first people were the assistant zone leaders, the Robinsons. When I was in library services, this was around the time of Christmas and Thanksgiving and Halloween. And during Thanksgiving, we got the time off and we actually were able to have a Thanksgiving dinner. And us young elders got to sit with some senior missionaries. And it kind of felt like, having a family. The Robinsons, who, like I said, were the assistant zone leaders, so I have worked with them a lot, were the ones that my companion and I at the time ate with. And because of that kindness that they showed, that familial love, I truly felt at home, even though I was miles away. Which is something that, when you go on a mission, you eventually learn is that the mission becomes your home. We can't sit around feeling sorry for the lack of the things that we're familiar with. We need to embrace it and enjoy every minute of it, much like Alma and the sons of Heman, or not Heman, Alma and his friends. Another senior couple that were also really great were the Woodmans. They were the zone leaders for library services for most of the time I was there. And since I was the only district leader at the time, leading 5 other young elders, I was pretty much the one in charge. I was their representative, and the one thing I got to see from the Woodmans is well, 2 things, is their love and their trust. They trusted me with making any decision that I felt needed to do, and I did it. And because of that, we were able to work together fluently and easily, and we were able to become fairly close as friends. It's interesting being friends to being close friends with a couple that is twice, 3 times your age. But at the same time, it's really refreshing because getting to talk to someone who has experience, especially experience in the gospel, it's just really amazing. Third person that I was able to both receive kindness and show kindness to was my companion for the last little bit of that Mother Lukow. Mother Lukow is a unique individual. For starters, that name. But also in terms of just, he was his own person, and as such, not too many people got along with him. But when I was his companion, I was truly able to really turn myself around and show kindness to him and eventually becoming friends with him, because I was able to learn some amazing things. I was able to learn about the gospel, and specifically what we can learn from individual peoples, in the scriptures, individual lessons. He was able to teach me that. In exchange, I was able to help him with boosting his self-esteem. I feel like that is what Christ would be doing here today. Not only does he heal us physically, he can also heal us mentally and emotionally and spiritually. We see plenty of times throughout his life that he was able to heal others. It's not just physical, it's all the other parts as well. We can be made whole. After that, I was in VIP, or DIP, once again. Now working on a different kind of project in which I was looking at various locations of the United States. Specifically, I was assigned to the state of Arkansas. So now I know a lot about Arkansas, even though I haven't been there. And during that time, I was able to train. The elder that I trained, I am so glad I was able to train him. Mostly because I didn't really have to do much of training. Unlike me, he was, right from the get-go, he was completely willing to give it his all. And as such, he approached the mission with no fear. And with that, I was able to really take courage from that, because I knew that I could spend the last 7 months, 7 months of my mission, giving it my all. He never shirked, and as such, neither did I. He was a great example, and in tune, I did my best to be a good example to him. After 2 months there, I spent my 4 final months in Discovery. Now, the Discovery floor is the main floor of the Family History Library, and it has a nickname that can kind of imply what it's about. That nickname being the Disneyland of the Family History Library. It is the main floor where people go around with iPads and get to see their family history and get to learn more about that kind of stuff. The thing is, though, is that it's very noisy and requires tons of social interaction, which, as you might expect, terrified me. However, after going into it, I was able to really let go, again, of my own personal desires and show my devotion to God, much like how Jonah gave up his desire to not go to Nineveh, and he went. Or how Christ asked Heavenly Father to pass on the cup of the atonement, but in the end, he decided to take it. Both my companions during that time were amazing elders. The first one being Elder Fillmore, who really helped me with getting used to the situation. His kindness and love, though quirky, were amazing and just what I needed. And the other one was Elder Green, which he was able to make my last 2 months of my mission special. He was a ball of energy that just kept me going, especially during some very spiritual moments. I think probably one of my favorite experiences is when him and I were helping a couple of patrons with setting up their accounts, and which doesn't just entail creating a username and password, but also creating a family tree, adding information, and actually growing that tree, which that part can take as small as 15 minutes to an hour. And it was getting close to the time that we were supposed to be going home for our dinner. However, we were helping these 2 patrons, and during that time we just really felt the spirit that we felt that we really needed to continue helping these people. We didn't make any big major finds, like finding out that their long lost grandparent lived in, just a couple blocks away. But we were able to find their ancestors and thus connect them to the big overall tree. And as such, we were able to connect them to their family. Now, they weren't members of the church. Most of the people we helped in the Family History Library weren't. Well, I think that's the point of showing kindness. It doesn't matter if they are members of the church. We can be kind and courteous to all those around us. Show that charity. Give it freely. I think with my closing remarks, I'll read one scripture here in 1 Corinthians 13. It's called Discourse on Charity. And now by the faith, hope, and charity, these 3. The greatest of these is charity. verse 13 and verse 8. Charity never faileth, but whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away. Then, only verse 7. Or, not verse 7. Verse 4. Charity suffereth long, and is kind. Charity envieth not. Charity vaunteth not itself. It is not puffed up, doth not behave itself unseemly, seeketh not her own, is not easy provoked, thinketh not no evil. Charity is the most important, one of the most important things we can do, because charity is the pure love of Christ. Charity is actually, it's about actually going out there and doing something, not just being and hawing about it, actually doing it, actually showing love, because you do care. I feel like that's what we could use.